Hi everyone, welcome back to my F1 diary. My computer is still not back from the lab, but it will be for the next video, so just bear with me. I know this looks horrible. It's either this or I look dead, so please forgive me for this. Anyways, we are back to the scene of the crime of McLaren's most underwhelming 1-2 finish in F1 history that I will not be talking about ever again because, frankly, I'm sick of hearing about it too. So if you want to know my opinions, you can go ahead and watch this video. I don't know which side it's going to be on from last year. And let's talk about what happened this year in Hungary. Well, first of all, leading to this weekend, Max has announced to the press that he's staying at Red Bull, which I can only assume means that George and Kimi are going to extend with Mercedes. And Fred Vasseur also extended his contract with Ferrari, which I think is great. I really like Fred. I know obviously Ferrari are struggling right now, but I think exactly because of that, it's good that they're keeping Fred, because especially at times of struggle, you need stability in the leadership. And I think it's going to be good for Fred and everyone in the team to go through these growing pains together and not just scrap it all and start over with someone new. So I'm very happy about it. I think he's also very great to the drivers. He's known both of them for a long time. And I think it's good for both of them to have someone that they know and trust that much in that position. Again, especially when they're struggling so much on track. So that was all the contract stuff. And now Hungary itself apparently is Monaco without walls. It's very narrow and it's the slowest non-street circuit on the calendar. All the teams run very high downforce, similar to Monaco downforce, and it's really hard to overtake. The only overtaking opportunity, or the main one, is turn 1, but that is obviously easier said than done. So let's just jump right into quali. It was weird. Probably the weirdest quali session in a while, for me at least. It was very mixed. Like everyone, apart from the McLarens at the top, everything behind them were very mixed. There was also a bit of rain in Q2, like just in one turn, which was kind of weird and like threw off some people. And then in Q3, apparently the wind changed and that really affected both McLarens, who lost a lot of time. They were 6 or 7 tenths slower than the laps they did in Q2. So just to put that in perspective, I think this graphic from F1 visualizes it the best. So yeah, it was pretty bizarre to watch. And Charles got pole, surprisingly to everyone, including him. His post-quali radio is one of the cutest things. He was really surprised. He was like, "What? Mamma mia!" And it was cute. It was cute. Unfortunately, that didn't last very long. But okay, Charles on pole. Then Oscar in P2, Lando in P3. George snuck up to P4. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, P5 and P6. The Aston Martins were cooking this weekend. They had upgrades in Spa that didn't really work there. And apparently, for some reason, they do work now. I'm not sure what that's about, but holy fucking shit. If they continue on this level of performance, they might be getting P5 at the end of the year. Especially with Williams' decline throughout the year. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then we have Gabby in P7. Holy shit. Sauber's best starting position, I think, maybe ever. Not like ever, but ever since they became Kick Sauber F1 team, whatever their name is. Since they became the neon green car that they are, this is their best starting position, I think. Definitely this year, though. So, holy shit, he's wow. Oh, wow. I don't know what happened. And then Max behind him. Max Verstappen in a Red Bull behind a fucking Sauber. Holy shit. So, Max in P8. He was really, really struggling this weekend. I don't know what happened. Like, usually, he really struggles in FP1 and FP2. And then, overnight, they just do their magic. And he's back to the top. But not this weekend, so I'm not sure if this is just a one-off for Red Bull or if this is like for real their demise. So also on that we'll have to keep an eye on. And then we'll have Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar in P9 and P10. Once again, I think both of them got into Q3. Again, because in Spa they also got into Q3. So good job for both of them as well. Other than the top 10, we have Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Oh my god, his press statement after like the qualifying, honestly heartbreaking. He said that he's useless and they should probably change the driver because, the car is on pole with Charles, so he's clearly doing something wrong. And that really depresses me for some reason. I mean, I'm not even a Lewis fan, but I don't like when drivers are that hard on themselves. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any hope for this year with Ferrari. I mean, maybe there is. Everything can happen in F1, but as things are looking out, it's likely not going to happen. But maybe next year, maybe, so they can be less depressed. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not even a Lewis fan, but I'm not a Lewis hater either. I don't hate any of the drivers. So it was hard even for me to like listen to that interview with him. And honestly, just a quick little note. I've seen this happen multiple times when Lewis was vulnerable with like interviews and stuff like that. And I just wanted to point out the double standard with Lewis and Lando, because if Lando would have said stuff like that, he would have been hung, unfortunately. And once again, the championship mentality will be brought up again, but you're not hearing that about Lewis. Not that you should. Again, this is just, don't talk about drivers like that at all. I know Lewis has proved himself as he is a 7-time world champion and Lando hasn't yet. But Lewis being praised for talking about his mental health and like everyone being depressed after this interview of his is the right response. And I don't know why Lando doesn't get it. Anyways, I didn't really want to like make this about Lando, but it just bugs me because I know it's true. So I had to. So yeah, that was that. Also, Franco Colapinto got into Q2, I think for the first time with Alpine, but also he outqualified Pierre. So seemingly maybe a progress there, although in the race that really didn't really work. So I'm not sure. So yeah, that's it for quali. It was the closest top 10 in F1 ever in qualifying. The top 10 separated by just over half a second, and the top 4 by just over half a millisecond, or is that right? I don't know the terms. It's 0.053. That's the gap between P1 and P4. This just goes to show how close the sport is. I mean, it's always close in Hungary, but wow. So now we're done with quali. And the start of the race, Lando, who starts from P3, loses 2 places to George and Alonso, unfortunately. He had actually a good lunge off the line. He just moved to the inside and then tried to move to the outside, losing too much time with all that and then having to go on the inside again. He lost a lot of time, I think, moving around, and Oscar did a brilliant job defending both ways somehow. He defended the inside and defended the outside. So Lando really couldn't do anything, and then George and Alonso were on the outside so they could brake a little bit later. And yeah, that's how he lost those 2 positions. And at that point, all was lost, to be honest. Honestly, every time Lando qualifies behind Oscar, it's basically either get Oscar on the first turn or a few laps, or damage control, getting if Oscar's winning, then P2. If Oscar is P2, then P3, stuff like that, because McLaren are giving preferential treatment to whoever is ahead. So ironically, Lando losing those 2 positions at the start is what allowed him to win, because if Lando was racing with Oscar, McLaren wouldn't have given him a different strategy. So he's actually a genius. He planned it all out beforehand. No, I'm kidding. Obviously he didn't. Everyone was running on hopium for that race, including Lando and the pit wall and us, or at least me. Because at that point, he was stuck. He got Alonso eventually, but then he was stuck behind George for a while there, kind of killing his tires. So, they thought they were going to be P4 anyway, so why not try something else? And that really paid off for some reason. I mean, I really don't think anyone thought it would work. So yeah, that was that. Lando did the 1 stop, while everyone ahead did the 2 stops. So Charles, Oscar, and George. And actually, Lando kind of double bluffs them to pit, I think, early, because he says, or he's being told on the radio, so we're thinking plan A -5. Basically, the 2 stop -5, so come 5 laps earlier than what we intended to do. And he was like, yep, my tires are dead, let's do this. And then it kind of triggered people ahead to pit, probably maybe a little bit, but Lando didn't pit at all and stayed out until lap 32 in clean air, because everyone ahead did pit. And then he came to the pits on lap 32 onto hards and had mega pace for the rest of the race. Meanwhile, Oscar tried to undercut Charles. That didn't work. And then for the second round of pits, Oscar was asked clearly if he wants to do a strategy to race against Charles or to race against Lando. And he clearly said that he wants to race against Lando, that he cares about the delta to Lando, which makes sense. Obviously, you want to win the race, but you want to win the whole thing at the end. That's more important. So he didn't try to undercut Charles again, but I still think McLaren brought him in too early maybe to really put a fight to Lando maybe at the end. It did kind of still had Charles on their minds when they pitted Oscar for the second time, I feel, at least. Which, it's fine. Charles was still ahead of him at that point of the race, and he seemed to have good pace. They couldn't have known that he was going to have chassis problems that would just drop his pace off a cliff. So I get that they were still thinking a little bit about Charles, because at the end of the day, McLaren do want to win. Because I think if they did live him out longer than they did, they would already see Charles struggling with his pace. And then maybe Oscar would have come out of the pits ahead of Charles, so already behind Lando. But I really don't know. And the way it all played out made it very close at the end and very exciting, honestly. This was exciting. The race was very boring the way it was going until that point where Lando, they decided to go on the one stop while everyone else was on two stops, because then Lando was leading and Oscar was catching up to him very quickly on much fresher tires. I think 10 laps difference. So massive pace difference as well. And he was catching very quickly again. In the last 5 laps, he was in his DRS. They had to also deal with some back markers. But Oscar was very close in his DRS for the last 4 laps. Tried a few times into turn 1. Gave me a few heart attacks as well. He almost T-boned Lando, which imagine if they took each other out and then George would win again, and it would be once again a George win. That is the least important thing that happened from the race. It always happens to George, to be honest. And it once again kind of happened with George's podium today. We'll get back to it. Anyways, Lando drove great in that last stint and defended from Oscar, albeit it is very hard to overtake, but he was very, very close. So it was still menacing. Let's just say that. And Lando wins. That seemed impossible after that first lap. Really, no one could have imagined that, I think. And it's a statistic that I'm looking out for. The McLaren boys winning each other's maiden wins, like Oscar winning Miami this year and Lando winning Hungary this year. And I'm wondering if any of them can win the same race twice. So we'll see about that. Not that it means anything. I'm just a curious statistic that I've noticed or paid attention to. So we'll see how that goes on. I also wanted to mention McLaren's 1.94 pit stops today for both Lando and Oscar. So they get the fastest pit stops for this race and the whole season for now. But they were back. They heard everyone's complaints about Spa and they said, you know what? We're back. And that was beautiful to see, honestly. Great job for the McLaren pit crew. And then another thing that I just wanted to mention before I go everyone else's results, Lando wrote on the champagne that they give him to write, don't break the trophy, which is iconic. Obviously referring to 2023 when he accidentally broke Max's trophy when he did his champagne pop thing. So he wrote it on the champagne, and he was extra careful on the podium before he did the champagne pop. Took his and Oscar's trophies to the side, hid them behind, I don't know, something, and then did the celebration. So he was very mindful, very demure about that, which is iconic in my opinion. So yeah, that was Lando and Oscar. And now for everyone else's results, we have George in P3, as I said, kind of snuck into that position. He qualified P4. It wasn't out of reach. But I thought Charles would have this. After the first stint, I thought Charles would win this race. So it is kind of surprising that George is there. He once again became a meme on the podium, third wheeling the McLaren boys. Because yeah, he really is always there. And no, he did have great pace. The entire race, almost, his engineer came on the radio to say, this is great pace, George, keep going. So he had great pace this weekend. And then I mean, this is a very depressing P4 for Charles. After that pole position, after that great pace in stint 1, and even stint 2, he was very frustrated during the race, like screaming on the pit wall that they should have consoled him on something. Like, I didn't really understand what he was talking about, but he was very, very frustrated. Obviously, things weren't going well, and he thought it was something that was under their control. But apparently, it was a chassis problem that came up around lap 40, and he just lost all his pace because of it, which was really depressing to watch, honestly. Like, at one point, he said, like, he was P3 fighting with George, or not fighting yet, but he was P3, George was behind him, and he said, I would be surprised if we even ended up on the podium. And I thought, well, that's just, pessimistic Charles talking. He will be on the podium. I mean, come on. And he wasn't. So that was really sad, honestly. Anyways, P5, Fernando Alonso. Wow. Great job from him. Great job from Aston Martin. He actually missed FP1 because of back pains from Spa. So what a turnaround from the beginning of the weekend where, people weren't even sure that he was going to participate for the rest of the sessions on the weekend. So great job from him. And again, Aston Martin. Then we have Gabby in P6. He's been really doing well. I know he's in a Sauber, so he gets less opportunities to show his talent. But when he has the opportunity, God, he shows it. Oh my God. Very well done to Gabby. And then we have Lance in P7. Once again, Aston Martin on a wave. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but maybe something. And then Liam Lawson in P8, Max in P9, and Kimi in P10. Honestly, I'm not sure how any of them got there. I mean, Liam and Max started from around there, but Kimi climbed up quite a bunch, I think. And honestly, I was pretty preoccupied with watching the race in the front. So sorry if anything exciting happened here that I don't know about. I mean, Max did have a thing with Lewis forcing him off the road. I think he got a penalty for it. I'm not sure. Oh, also Charles got a penalty at the end of the race. He was defending very aggressively from George and moving under braking. So he got a 5-second penalty for driving erratically or something like that. But that didn't change his position because, Fernando, who was behind of him, was behind a lot. Let's just say that. He was driving his own race, which, respect, King. P5, you just do you. That's good enough. So yeah, that's it. Isaac and Lewis, who finished P11 and P12, did have kind of a fight with Kimi on P10 for that last point, but they were back markers, so they had to let Lando and Oscar get through, so that kind of turned off the fight that they kind of had. And Ollie DNF'd somewhere in the middle. He had rear damage from something, I don't know, and Franco Colapinto somehow got all the way down to P18. He still finished ahead of Pierre, which I guess is something, but P18 still not something Alpine wants to see. And that was it. A nice little exciting race before the summer break, aka silly season, although if we're being honest, the silly stuff have started long ago with all the Max to Mercedes stuff. So I do think most of the silly is behind us, but there are still a bunch of drivers with no contract for next year, so we'll see what happens then. I'm actually mostly interested to see what happens, if anything at all, with that second Alpine seat. But whatever happens, I'll be watching comfortably from right here as a Landoscar fan, knowing that they're going to grow old together in McLaren. Their word is not mine. So they're not part of the chaos that might ensue, and that is just one of the perks of being a Landoscar fan. And next race after the break is Zandvoort, which will be another opportunity to see if any of the McLaren boys, this time Lando, can win a race that they've already won, or are they going to keep winning each other's last year's win? We'll see. I will see you again before Zandvoort though. You'll see why. But until then, enjoy these memes. Bye!